Good afternoon and welcome to our fourth Sandy Creek Reopening Forum. This afternoon we want to let you know that if you have any questions as we go through this information, they can be emailed to reopeningquestions@sccs.cnyric.org, and we will do our best at the end of this presentation to answer those questions. To introduce the three of us, I am Kevin Seymour, the high school principal.
Amy Molloy, the middle school principal.
And Tim Filiatra, the elementary principal.
As we developed this plan, there were many considerations, thinking about the community's needs, our students' needs, our staff members' needs as well. We also had to look at what the state provided to us. One important document was Recovering, Rebuilding, and Renewing the Spirit of New York Schools Reopening Guidance, the CDC guidance and guidelines, and then the New York State health guidelines as well. So we put all of these pieces together, and then we had two very important goals as we developed several of these plans, two in which we are still working through. Those goals to ensure the safety and social emotional well-being of our students, staff, and community members. Also, develop a plan that safely maximizes the academic engagement between students and teachers. That was a big piece of this planning, was to make sure that our students were in front of our teachers so that they could learn.
To differentiate between remote learning and homeschool learning for some of our families, remote students will follow the school-based curriculum via virtual assistant from their teachers. How each grade level and each teacher implements remote learning will be a little bit different. We will be sending out specific schedules. Those specific remote schedules are on the reopening plan as well. Those teachers will provide information to our remote learners about what their schedule will look like prior or the first day of school. Students will remain enrolled at Sandy Creek. Parents also have the option of homeschooling their child. However, they will have to fill out the proper paperwork with Mr. Filiatra. Parents will assume all responsibility for their child's education, grading, and assessments. So please reach out to Mr. Filiatra if you need to fill out your homeschooling information. Due to the constraints of keeping our students and staff safe and keeping our numbers low in the building, we are asking our parents to choose a model of instruction by August 19th. Letters were sent out regarding that last week. Again, we need that by August 19th, so if you haven't, please be sure to get in your model of instruction by that time.
Attendance will be taken daily for our students that are both on-site, the in-person learning model, and for our students who are remote learners, learning virtually at home. That attendance will be taken daily. It is important that your child attends and participates. Students who do not attend or participate on site or virtually do have the potential risk of failing classes and not receiving credit.
So the next piece, big piece of this plan, it's one of the things that has to happen in order to get our students and our staff back in the building, is we have to wear masks. Students will be required to wear masks on the bus, and when they are unable to socially distance, they will have to wear their masks. We have designed our classrooms in a way that hopefully we can meet the social distance guidelines that will allow them then to remove their masks when they are in the classroom. Most classrooms are set up this way. Students will be aware of those that are unable to socially distance, and in those classrooms, again, they will have to wear their masks. They'll have to wear their masks when they're moving about the halls, when they're entering the building, when they're on the bus. They will have to wear them at those points, but during direct instruction in the classroom, so long as they're 6 feet apart, they are able to remove their masks. Per New York State law, there will be some students that won't have to wear masks. That's completely out of our control. They have to go through the proper channels, however, through CSD, 504, and IEP, and they would contact Kim Manfredi, our CSE chairperson, if they would end up being medically exempted from this, and she would put all the pieces in place to make this work. At this point, face shields, they do not qualify as a mask. We are asking that a disposable mask or a cloth mask is used.
Transportation. If you have requested the district provide transportation for your child, we have provided an estimated morning pickup time that is subject to change as Robin continues to work on that schedule. It was in the letter that went home last week. In order to accommodate all the requests for transportation, students must ride the same bus in the AM and PM. It is very important that we have a consistent number of students figured for the bus runs, which is why we have that in place. If you have specific questions, please contact Robin Cashel at the school, and her extension is 3330.
Temperature checks are a big thing that we have to take into consideration as we are reopening schools. Before entering a bus, a student's temperature will be taken by a screening system that is located outside of the bus. If a student's temperature is 100 degrees or above, that student will not be able to attend school and will be directed back into their residence. One thing we are now looking into that was brought up that we're not sure, if one sibling has a fever, will the other siblings be able to go to school? At first thought, we said no, but we are getting some guidance from Dr. Pecca right now to see if that is the case. So we'll provide more information and update that as we get more information. As I've said, there's conflicting information back and forth on this piece. For students being dropped off by parents or driving to school, students will also be temperature checked prior to entering the building. Parents may not leave campus until their child is verified of having a temperature less than 100. And that's a super important piece of this process, and we're asking for your cooperation with. We cannot have you leave campus until your child is given the all clear to go into the building. We have entry points for our walkers and drop-offs and drivers. At the elementary school entrance facing the road. For our K through 5 students, that's where they will be dropped off and checked. And we will have 2 entrances at the middle school, high school. One being the middle school, high school entrance, and the other entrance being near the ramp entrance, nearest the gym entrances. So those will be our 3 entry points.
Our in-person reopening plan, for those of you that have chosen to have your child come back to school, what does it look like? Well, district-wide, our student in-school hours are modified this year they are 8 a.m. to begin, and we will end the school day at 1:30 with dismissal of all students. And that afternoon portion will be when some of the remote learning pieces are addressed for those learning at home. Kindergarten through 6th grade, students will attend every day, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 8 and 1:30. Our class sizes have been reduced in those grade levels, and our schedules developed to maximize our social distancing so that we can allow our students to be socially distanced and not wear masks all the time. They remain with their cohorts throughout the day, and then breakfast and lunch will be served in the classrooms at the K-5. For 6th grade, breakfast is in the classroom. Lunch, however, will be in the cafeteria for 6th graders.
At the middle and high school level, just to keep going with the breakfast and lunch piece, breakfast will be in the classrooms for our middle and high school students. However, lunch will be served in the cafeterias. The plan overall, we will have 2 cohorts. They have been developed. Our white comets, they'll come on Monday and Wednesday. Our blue comets, they will come on Tuesday and Thursday. Typically, it's going to be the white comets will be the last name A through L, blue comets will be M through Z. However, it is important to note that we have had to move several students around due to various reasons, whether that's CTE programs out at BOCES, whether or not they're in particular classes throughout the day, and several other reasons to make sure that we can socially distance properly. So please, when you receive your schedules, which you will receive in the next week or so, it will be labeled with what cohort the student is in. So please send your student on the particular day. Also, lots of more information will be coming out as well. Virtual learning, that will take place for all students on Friday. In addition, our students will also be learning virtually, depending on the cohort, all week long. So if you're in the white comet, you will be learning virtually on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then obviously for our blue comets, you'll be learning virtually on Mondays and Wednesdays. So just know that that'll be happening all week, but Friday it's virtual for all students, and you will follow your in-person schedule on that day, running from 8 until 1:30 p.m. Our CTE students, they will be attending BOCES 1 day per week for the entire day from 8 until 2:30, and then they'll ride back on the bus. We will be bringing them home at that point. They will also attend Sandy Creek 2 days per week. We are working to accommodate all of our families. We've gone through all the lists and we can make some adjustments if necessary, but we're trying to accommodate families to make sure they all come in on the same day. As we begin to open up the year and you're looking at your the cohort that you're in, if it doesn't seem to be right, feel free to reach out to the school.
Our next slide here shows what the 6 through 12 schedule will look like daily from 8 to 1:30. All of our classes are going to be in half-hour time frames, so we've adjusted it. They're still going to follow the regular schedule as if we were in a regular type of schedule. You'll notice that our lunches are going to be 20 minutes long instead of your traditional 30 minutes long. And at the high school level, for the A and the B lunches, we've had to make some switches there. You'll see period 4 begins, and then you will follow to period 6. Then you'll have lunch, or you'll have period 5. So we had to adjust the schedule to accommodate all of our staffing and student needs at that time. So a little bit of a change, but traditionally, basically, you will follow the same schedule as if we were on a regular time frame.
At the K-5 in the elementary building, this daily schedule again is 8 to 1:30. As I mentioned earlier, those students will remain with their homeroom teacher, with their classroom. During that hour, times of 8 to 1:30, they will have about an hour of math, about an hour of ELA instruction. We will be fitting in science and social studies in that day, along with an intervention block where students can receive extra help in the areas of reading or math or even science and social studies if appropriate. We also have included a 40-minute special Monday through Thursday for every grade level, for every class of students. Those specials consist of PE, art, music, or tech.
We had a question come in about what a typical classroom would look like. So if you're looking at these photos, you'll see the top 3 photos on this page. They are of a high school classroom. This is what it will look like, all socially distanced at 6 feet from chair to chair. And then at the elementary level, you'll notice an example. The bottom 2 photos illustrate that. Again, arranged for social distancing, 6 feet chair to chair, in order to allow students to remove their masks while in these classrooms. For those students that will be remote learners 100% of the time, they will not be coming to the district whatsoever. They will, however, be provided instruction from our teachers here. We will be coming up with a plan for our remote learners. Each teacher will have a little bit of flexibility in terms of what that will look like. This information is going to come out. Some of it already is out in terms of what this schedule will look like. It has been pushed out. We will be sending this information to families in the next week or so, so be prepared to receive this. For our remote learners, meals and school resources will be available to students. The resources will come from each teacher depending on what they need to provide. Meals, you will have to come to the district in order to pick those up daily. Attendance will be taken once per day and simply being accounted for, and we've brought this up just because you attend a class or you complete one assignment per day, that sort of thing. It doesn't mean that the student will be successful in that course. They have to meet the standards that are put in place by New York State. So it is important that they do the work that the teacher expects as they are teaching the New York State learning standards. If you have an electronic device that the school district owns and you're having an issue with it and you're struggling, please reach out to our technology department. The extension is 1949. Also, you can put in a help desk request at students.sandycreekcsd.org.
In the event we move to all remote instruction, students will follow their in-person schedules from 8 to 1:30 to provide consistency for our students and staff members. Detailed schedules will be provided when we do, or in the event that we have to move to 100% remote instruction. As we've stated before, and we'll say it again, students will be expected to check in daily as attendance is mandatory per New York State guidance. The special education piece, there's 3 goals that we have in mind for our students: giving them access to our general education curriculum, giving them the opportunity to work on their IEP goals, and to also create a contingency plan that will be developed for each student in addition to their IEP or 504. Each child's special education teacher will be reaching out to the parent and child regarding their tailored contingency plan based on their model of instruction, whether that's in person, remote, or hybrid prior to the start of the school year. This doesn't require an amendment meeting. We will be providing students their modifications and accommodations to the greatest extent possible given the elected model of instruction. And so just be by your phones, be by your emails. Our teachers will be reaching out to you and your child if you have an IEP or 504 plan prior to the start of the school year regarding the contingency plan.
So that is just a brief overview of many of the parts that go into this plan that we are going to implement this fall. We are trying to accommodate all families, students, different scenarios, the best that we can, but obviously there are a number of pieces that go into it. So if you have any further questions, again, please email reopeningquestions@sccs.cnyric.org. At this point, we are going to address a number of questions that have been provided to us from our community members and do our best to answer those.
Okay, our first question, will there be pre-K? This is an answer that has changed from the previous forums that we've held. Phone calls were made this morning to all of our registered or enrolled pre-K families to notify them that we are not going to be having a pre-K program for the 2020-2021 school year. Difficult decision to make. Many factors go into that decision. There's a letter going out to those families to explain further why there will not be a pre-K program this year. Be assured that Ms. McNitt has already closely worked with me this morning to make sure that we can push out some resources and materials to those families to help them with their children in order to get them ready for kindergarten for the following year.
Our next question, does Sandy Creek get information from the Department of Health regarding COVID-19? We do receive regular updates from the Department of Health from Oswego County about the number of potential or cases that are in Oswego County. We are provide that information. Additionally, we do have students that go to school in Onondaga as well as up in Jefferson County, so we do monitor those cases and what is happening in regards to COVID in those counties as well to ensure that our students and staff are as safe as possible.
Will all families be able to go to school on the same days if in a hybrid model? Yes, the administration has worked diligently with the schedule and has made accommodations for all families to attend on the same days. We've also accounted for issues with BOCES programming too, so that shouldn't be a problem for anybody.
Okay, our next question, I don't have an electronic device. Will the school provide one for my child? And what about internet access if we don't have it? So the answer is yes, the school will provide you, your child with a device. At the kindergarten and first grade, that will be in the form of an iPad. For students grades 2 through 12, they will have a Chromebook furnished to them by the school. Please reach out to the technology department if you need assistance or any support for that device. According to our survey, we know who has internet access and who does not, who may need some assistance. If you have a student in grades 7 through 12 who does not have access to the internet, there is some flexibility to use our building to access the internet on the days when they are not here for in-person instruction. That'll be determined on a case-by-case basis. Please reach out to the school. You can use extension 1510, or you can call the high school, middle school office if you have concerns about that.
Our next question, what model of instructions are being offered? And it kind of depends on the grade level. When we're looking at the models that are being offered at the K-6 level, we're offering essentially two different kinds. We are offering a fully in-person model, which runs from 8:30 to 1:30, and then we're also offering the remote model as well. And all of the information about how that would work has been provided. At the 7th through 12th grade level, we are offering a hybrid model, as they will come 2 days per week, and then we'll be learning remotely the other 3 days, and then there's the cohorts and all the pieces that are associated with that. Also, the other model we're working with at the high school level is a 100% remote instruction.
The next question, can I change the model of my child's instruction at any point? We've said this before, you have until August 19th to determine what model of instruction your child will elect or to make changes on what you've chosen before. This is due to staffing issues and space constraints. A verification sheet was sent home to everyone regarding the model of instruction you have chosen for your student. It's important to note that changes in your decision for the instructional model can impact the overall plan for the districts. So basically, we're going to ask you to make your final determination by August 19th for that part of our plan.
Okay, next question. What type of masks does my child have to wear? When does my child have to wear a mask? Does a face shield take the place of a mask? And will there be mask breaks? Any cloth mask is acceptable. Disposable surgical masks are also acceptable. The school will have masks available. If your child doesn't have one, we will provide it for them. They do have to wear their mask when they're not socially distanced. As we mentioned earlier, when they're on the bus, in the hallways, in places where they're not able to be 6 feet apart, they will have to wear their mask. A face shield does not replace the wearing of a cloth mask. CDC guidelines do not allow for a face shield to take the place of a mask at this time. There will be breaks built in for the students to take their masks off, but as we mentioned, we're doing the best we can here so that they will not have to wear them all the time. There will be, however, some cases where students may not need a mask, as we mentioned earlier. Those are only cases that have gone through our CSD department. If you have concerns for your child about a mask and there's medical reasons, please contact Kim Manfredi, and her extension is 1910.
Our next question, how will students' temperatures be taken? Well, it really depends on how they're going to get here. If they're riding the bus, their temperatures will be taken prior to them getting on the bus. If they are a walker, rider, get dropped off at school, those students, they will have their temperatures checked before they enter the building. It is important to know that if a student has a temperature of 100 degrees or above, that student will be sent back to their residence or back to their vehicle, or the temperature will have been taken in the vehicle and they would be sent home in order to mitigate the potential spread of COVID here in the building.
The next question, are there plans to test students and staff? At this point, there are no plans to test students or staff. I know this has been in the news, so I know this has been brought up a lot recently. Please know all staff are screened prior to the start of the day. In the event that any testing has to be done, the Oswego County Health Department will assist in handling that.
Next question, what are the procedures for cleaning? All the cleaning procedures for Sandy Creek will follow the CDC and the New York State Department of Health guidelines. You can access that information on our reopening plan on the website. Please be assured that Mr. Ridgway is working closely with the Department of Health and following all the guidelines to make sure his staff is cleaning the building properly.
The next question, how will my child receive special education services? All special education teachers, as we've stated before, are working on contingency plans related to a child's 504 and IEP. Those plans will be reviewed thoroughly and discussed with each teacher, each child, and the child's parent, and to the general education teacher prior to the start of the school year. We will again be providing services to the greatest extent possible given the confines of the modified schedule due to COVID-19.
Our next question, will my child be able to participate in extracurricular activities and sports if they are remote learners? And the answer is yes, they will be able to participate. However, everything has been postponed until September 21st. We still do not have any guidance at this point regarding extracurricular activities and sports. However, as soon as we do have that, it will be made public. The next question, when is BOCES and will my child be able to attend? BOCES will run on a Monday through Thursday full day schedule. So they'll go 1 day per week, our BOCES students will, and that information will be provided end of this week, early next week, in a packet that'll be sent home. You will know specifically the program and the day in which the student will attend that particular CTE program.
Our next question, will elementary students have specials and recess? The answer to the first part of that is yes, they will have specials. They will have art, music, technology, and PE, Monday through Thursday. The playground, however, remains closed until further notice, but be assured while we don't have scheduled recess, the teachers will be taking movement breaks with their students throughout the day. We will try to make use of the outdoors, our courtyards, as much as the weather will allow us to do.
The next question is, what if we have a positive COVID-19 case here at Sandy Creek? The Department of Health will ultimately direct us to follow certain procedures if that does happen. We have placed COVID testing and contact tracing document on our Sandy Creek website, and we ask that you thoroughly look at that to answer all of your questions about testing and tracing to help answer your questions.
The next question, will students have access to lockers? Yes, they will have assigned lockers. That information will be detailed on their schedules when they receive them. They have been strategically assigned to ensure maximum distance between each student. We've taken into consideration the cohorts as well as the space we have, the extra lockers that we have in order to distance those as much as possible. The next question, what will a socially distanced classroom look like? We provided those pictures earlier in the presentation.
How will my child receive breakfast or lunch on days when he or she is remote? There will be a designated spot at the school for pickup of those between 10 and 12, Monday through Friday, and more information will be coming out.
Some questions that we received from our last forum, wondering why students were being released at 1:30 instead of the typical 3 o'clock time. This is to accommodate our students and also distinguish equity between those who are receiving in-person instruction as well as our remote learners. This is an expectation that has been put into place by New York State.
Children are often asymptomatic and don't have the usual symptoms that adults do. How can the requirement of a mask be sufficient to protect the spread of the virus? To answer that, we are following the CDC and the New York State Department of Health guidelines, and that is what they recommend at this time.
Our next question, if a single student tests positive for the virus, does that imply the entire school or classroom will be learning from home? A lot of what will go into this is communication between the Oswego County Health Department, the school physician and through Connects Care, and conversations with our superintendent in order to determine if it would be a small group of students or it would be the entire school or part of the school that would close down, and for that length of time.
For parents that are still working or have returned to work, online learning may be difficult or impossible to accommodate during school hours. How is the school prepared to address the child's absence? So students in grades K through 6 have the option to be at school Monday through Friday. The district will collect daily attendance and communicate with students, parents, and guardians about this student or if the student is not attending. As this situation develops, we are prepared to implement necessary interventions to support our students while learning at home.
Our next question, when will we receive supply lists? Is there an estimated day as to when we will find out who our children's teachers are? After August 19th, the class rosters will be able to be finalized. Those letters from the teachers are being mailed out later this week. They're actually being put into envelopes today and tomorrow. So you can expect that you will get those by the end of this week. The supply lists are also in those letters, and those will be posted to the website. How many children per classroom? That depends on the grade level. Almost every, if not every classroom will be socially distanced. We will know more after August 19th when we have a better idea of our numbers for in-person learning.
Next question, how will you keep children from touching each other's personal belongings A big part of this is just like any other school year where you have to teach students procedures, you have to teach them the expectations of the classroom, the hallways, the cafeterias, the gymnasium, all of these different pieces we have to teach behavior, and in this scenario we will just be reinforcing some of the concepts we already teach, and so we'll continue that, and we will be communicating and again teaching those students what is acceptable and not acceptable during this situation.
When unloading buses in the morning, will only some buses unload at a time and go to the room before the other buses to avoid hallways full of children? Yes, we do have a plan in place that we will be staggering that. Children will also have to use hand sanitizer before entering the building as well.
How will parent pickup happen at the end of the day? All the parents standing in the hallway is not safe. We are currently working on a new plan. We will no longer be able to dismiss in the elementary the way we have the last 2 years with parents coming into the building. That will not be allowed. Parents cannot come into the school to pick up their child or sign them out in the building. So we are working on a new plan and new procedures, and more information about that plan will be shared with you as soon as we can get it to you.
Our next question is there more information regarding protocol for if a staff member or a student tests positive for COVID? We have posted the testing and tracing protocol to our COVID-19 webpage. This is on our website, so we please encourage you to go to the website, read that information as it is very detailed and thorough.
The next question asks about the model of instruction a parent chooses for their child, and the selection says until January 2021. And part of the question was, are we planning on changing mid-year? And then would parents also be able to select remote learning or make adjustments with which model that they have chosen. So basically, we need you to make a decision by August 19th, as we have said. That means that the model you've chosen on August 10th will be the model that you choose until January 2021. Please understand that it's very difficult to add students to a classroom that is socially distanced. It could take weeks before a space is available. So switching from in-person to remote would be easier to accommodate rather than from remote to in-person based on our staffing constraints and our spacing constraints. So we ask that you make your decision by August 19th and that you stick with that.
Next question. It was mentioned children are subject to one bus route only. How is that going to work for us parents whose children get on the bus at home and go elsewhere in the afternoon? Unfortunately, with the restrictions of contact tracing that are in place right now, that is all that we can accommodate. There will be assigned seating on the bus. As mentioned earlier, if you have special concerns about transportation, please reach out to Robin Cashel, our transportation supervisor, and her extension is 3330.
Our next question, it's follow-up from the previous. With that said, as a substitute teacher and with the early dismissal, would my child be able to come to the room I am covering and sit with me until the end of the work day? At this point in time, we are working through what it would look like for a substitute. Obviously, right now, our school day ends at 1:30. We're working through what a school day would look like for a substitute teacher. We obviously want to support our substitute teachers and their children while they're here in the building so that we can keep our substitutes coming back. So we will continue to work through that as we move forward. We are planning to have a training for these substitute teachers early in September. That information will be made available soon. We do hope that you are able to attend so that we can provide you with necessary information for the 2020-21 school year.
Will students be able to have their own water bottle at their desk? The short answer to that is yes. In the elementary, you will see water bottle on the list of items suggested that students bring to school. Because our water fountains are turned off, we only have bottle fill stations available, so we are recommending a water bottle for each child.
Can students have their own hand sanitizer on them? Yes, they may have hand sanitizer on them. However, it is prohibited on the bus. That is New York State guidelines that they have sent to us. So it is important to understand that.
Can students bring travel wipes to wipe down desks? No, we are not asking that students bring their own wipes in. Please understand that the school has CDC and Department of Health approved wipes to be used, and understand that our classrooms will be thoroughly cleaned between each classroom transition as well.
The next question, there are a series of questions that kind of come together, and what most of it kind of encapsulates is this question about if a sibling has a temperature of over 100 or they're at daycare and they have a temperature of over 100, does that restrict all of the other students that are in that same location from being able to attend school? Again, as we alluded to earlier, we have actually had conflicting information that has come from a couple different sources, and so it is something that we are looking back at in order to gain some more information and come up with a definitive answer, and we will be providing that before the end of this week.
One question we just received is, will temperatures be taken by drivers on the bus, or will parents do this before the bus gets there? Because they're concerned about living on a busy road. We have temperature screening systems that will be on the outside of the buses. That first week, I'm sure we will have some bus aides on there to help students line up with the screening system so they can take their temperature. Parents do not have to take students' temperatures, but they do have to be there to receive students if a student's temperature is 100 degrees or above.
At this point, that concludes all of the questions that we have received. Again, we encourage you to reach out and supply us with any other questions you may have. Again, to reiterate, please email reopening questions@sccs.cnyric.org, and we will try to answer your question to the best of our ability as we continue to develop our plans for this fall. Thank you all very much.